Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 61 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. We're locked in, we're dialed, we're back to a normal recording schedule, we're back to a normal uploading schedule. Life is flipping good, man. We're happy to be here. I'm happy to be here. Are you happy to be here?
I am more than happy to be here. You guys are coming off a banger episode with Caden. I have yet to finish it, so I will reserve some comments. I'm about halfway through.
Shout out
Caden. I'm so glad that this guy's finally been on this podcast. I know we've been alluding to it in a couple of the previous episodes, and we got some more stuff that will be flying your way. You guys know, but yeah, I'm excited to be here, man. I love every second that I spend in this studio.
Man, it's so awesome because I felt the passion in my life just completely flourish once again, which I'm going to get into a little bit later. But man, I mean, it's good to be back on a regular upload schedule, a regular recording schedule, and regardless of how late it's really getting, we're still putting in the hours to make it count. And I feel more balanced right now with everything that I'm working on than I have in a long time. But before we get into all this nitty-gritty stuff, there's one event that happened last week that we need to talk about. Now, obviously, for you guys, it feels like this episode is only about 4 or 5 days away from Kane's episode. But for us, it's been a little bit longer than that because obviously Kane's episode was recorded before he went back to Toronto. So, last week, we obviously didn't get to cover it. Four Nations flipping face-off! Boom! Maple syrup coursing through my veins.
Oh, man. What a tournament, man. What a tournament. Oh, my Lord. Am I happy to be a Canadian?
That's what I'm saying.
I think, yes, absolutely. That was a beautiful tournament, and by God, that final game, Lord, when I told you, we were all standing there in our kitchen, on our toes, hearts racing, man. My heart can't take any more overtime finals, okay? Like, I had enough with the Canucks in general in their playoff run, everything coming down to the last second, but my heart hurts. Okay? Even with the Oilers and Panthers last season, taking it to a Game 7, like, I'm not an Oilers fan, but obviously we want to break the Bettman curse. That's just something that I'm thinking about. So I was obviously rooting for the Oilers to bring home a cup to Canada. And, dude, taking it to the Game 7, man, I don't like these Game 7s. Like, there's obviously so much riding on it. It's not good for my health. Like, my heart age is deteriorating. With every moment, man, they were making, like, that right there to the corner to Tkachuk for the, one time in. He picks it, puts it on the ground, just to toss that in the back of the net. And, oh, my God, Binnington with the most beautiful save ever. Like, oh, my God. I just want to say I think it was Tkachuk that was shooting that corner shot. I think. I could be wrong.
Probably.
I think so. But, oh, my God, like, my heart there. Or when they passed it to, like, Matthews in the slot and he shoots it. And, blocker save by Binnington. I was like, I can't take this, bro. My heart is palpitating. It hurts.
For the record, all of Canada owes Jordan Binnington an apology.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I remember, myself included, everyone was doubting his abilities, but I know that when it came down to the wire and we're in the championship game, I knew he was going to come through.
Yeah.
Because Jordan Binnington is the most clutch goalie ever. He performs when he needs to perform.
Okay, think about the fact that 2019, they went to Game 7, I think, right?
I think so.
Yeah, they took it to Game 7, and he won in TD Garden.
Oh, yeah,
so he got to win again. He won his last cup in TD Garden.
You tell me they beat the Bruins in 2019?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he played phenomenal. Everybody's like, bro, we need...
Prime
2019 Stanley Cup run Binnington back, and we got him in TD Garden. I think that was poetic and beautiful.
Yeah.
And, I think, guys, don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a book by its past and its history either. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, going into Four Nations, everybody said Canada's weak point is the goaltending.
Yeah.
And they were right to a degree, right? We didn't have the people that the other nations had. That's just reality.
Yeah.
And yet, Binnington showed up, man. And he did what he had to do.
Brutal mug. And, okay, we've kind of been droning on about this for a minute. But to those of you that have no idea what we're talking about, if you don't, I have no idea how. You have to be living under a rock. But the Four Nations Face-Off is a tournament that was hosted by the NHL, I guess 2 weeks ago now.
Probably.
Yeah, started 2 weeks ago. And essentially, they take the best players from every single team in the NHL and divide them into 4 nationalities: Canada, USA, Finland, and Sweden. And then the 4 teams face off. And this is kind of the NHL's version of an all-star game, but instead of doing the all-star game this year, they switched it up to this. And whoever's idea that was Give them literally anything they want.
Yeah.
Give them their own team. I don't care.
Genuinely, that it was brilliant. It's such a
Absolute brilliance. And the thing is, the NHL just completely showed up the NBA and NFL for their All-Star weeks, and also just in general to show how much, in my opinion, of a superior sport hockey is. And you see so many people hopping on the hockey train now because of the Four Nations face-off.
Is that like true? Because I've heard people talking about it a lot. I didn't know, because a lot of the people that I know that don't know hockey didn't know anything about Four Nations.
Yeah,
So-
well, there, like for example, there's this TikToker that I saw, and he posted a bunch of videos. Like he was previously, I believe, a big NFL and NBA guy, and then he said, "Bro, I just watched the Four Nations face-off, and this sport is way better than basketball and football because when these players step on the ice, they play with passion. They play because they care about the game. And watching the players who care about the game is what fans care about.
Yeah.
Right? So if like these professional athletes don't care about their craft, why would you care to go watch them? And that's one big problem I have with the NBA. You see all these professional athletes whining and crying about different things and not playing their best or literally sitting out games. Think about that. Some athletes on NBA teams choose to sit games for whatever reason. Same with the NFL. I didn't know that was a thing,
Like,
but
just why?
no idea. No idea. Genuinely no idea. But I know that it has happened where just because they don't want to play, whether it's some sort of issue with the team or whatnot, they just choose to not play. Okay?
That's very interesting.
That's the first thing. The second thing is the fouls in those games piss me off because you can't touch somebody without them flailing on the ground. That's why every time I watch a game of basketball or play basketball, mind you, all my friends know playing basketball against me is super annoying because A, I don't actually know how to properly play defense. I'm just very in your face. And I'm very used to hockey. So, like...
He just fouls you over and over and over again. is what he's
Yeah,
trying to
pretty
say.
much. Pretty much. Like,
But,
okay,
like,
I won't
can-
smack you.
I'm fine with it because, like, to a degree, man, that's why I love hockey. Is just like the physicality of the sport is
Exactly.
also like awesome. I think it's such a big aspect of it because I don't think that people credit enough how much it changes the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because you take playoff hockey and you take regular season hockey, they're two different sports almost.
Yep.
And then like Four Nations, they didn't hold back. People like compare it to the Olympics. It's not the Olympics. They're completely different because they allowed full like hard hitting contact. The refs called nothing. Like they genuinely
Yeah.
called nothing during
Was
that.
there
tournament.
even a penalty in the final game? I don't think so.
I don't even think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Genuinely, I don't
yeah.
think so. And you saw they were leveling each other. Like everybody's getting
Literally
dropped.
one of the first highlights I saw was, first of all, McDavid getting leveled into the boards like twice. I saw Doughty get thrown into the boards by
Yeah.
Kachuk as well.
Yeah.
So I just watching this game and watching these people put their heart and soul into this sport
Yeah.
was phenomenal. Now we've talked about this more than enough for sure.
absolutely.
But if you guys don't watch hockey, I would strongly recommend giving it a try. It is such a nice sport.
I'd say you gotta treat it like a TV show. You gotta give it a couple times to
Yeah.
actually get it because people are always like, "Oh, there's only like 2 goals in the whole game, so it's not fun or enjoyable." But there's a lot of other big aspects to hockey that become super interesting when you watch it. Like when a goalie makes a crazy save, like when Binnington made that save, we were all like, "Oh my god," we were freaking out. But like our friends who didn't watch hockey, they're like, "Bro, why was that even crazy?" I mean, if you watch the highlight reel, you should be able to tell that it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But as a person who hasn't grown up playing the sport or seeing the sport, it's hard to understand when things are crazy. So give it a couple watches and like actually pay attention to it and think about like, if I was in that position, what would I be able to do?
Yeah.
Because like imagine that, you can skate, but imagine now you're slapping on the ice and some 6'4", 250-pound man is blitzing at you at 30 kilometers an hour about to take your head off. Now
Yeah.
tell me that it's not, it's the same thing. It's completely different. So give it a chance and like also make sure you watch a good game. If you watch like the Chicago Blackhawks versus the Sharks, obviously you're not going to enjoy watching it because it's going to be like poverty matchup. But at the end of the day, give it a couple watches. I think hockey's a great sport, and this is a shameless plug for all the Canadians out there. You should all be watching hockey. It's the greatest sport of all time.
Yeah, the last thing I was just going to cap off with about this is one of the reasons why it was so influential is obviously, for those of you that don't know, the final matchup of the tournament for the trophy was between Team USA and Team Canada, which have a legendary rivalry in this sport. And not only did America beat Canada 3-1 in the round robin game on Canadian soil, but after winning that game, every American that watched the game was talking so much smack about Canada. Every comment said, 51st state, we own Canada. We beat you guys in your hometown, blah, 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 because that first game was played in Montreal. They talked all this stuff. And to watch Canada lock in, march into Boston, and completely stomp USA, I wouldn't say completely stomp. It was a very, very close game.
Very close game.
To
down
beat
the
USA in Boston and shatter the hearts of every American hockey fan right there in that game,
Yeah.
it was amazing. I loved it. Obviously I don't like breaking hearts, but what I did love is karma. Right, you talked everything about that. You put my entire country down. You said Canada isn't all this. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, look at that. We still own you.
Yeah,
we still own you.
If you guys don't know, like the game ended in overtime, 2-2, and then this game, McDavid, who's considered the best person in the league, scored the golden goal to win. If you rewind to 2010 in the Olympics, 2-2, that was the last time that NHL players played in the Olympics.
Correct.
Sidney Crosby, considered the greatest of all time at that time, scored the golden goal 2-2 against USA.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect recreation of that significant moment in Canadian history.
Yeah.
And I say history as if 2010 wasn't. Damn, 2010 was
15 years ago. That's a long time.
That is kind of crazy. But yeah, 15 years ago,
Think about the fact that you were 4 years old.
that is crazy to me. That is kind of, I just thought about that. But it doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
Yeah, no.
If that makes sense. But yeah, so it's a bit of poetry, a little bit of a history lesson for you Canadians out there. You should know that.
And on top of that, I saw this guy upload a review and he said, man, I'm in shambles, because he was an American. But he said, I'm not someone who likes to bring my political opinions into anything, because I don't think I have any right to talk about the state of the world. I'm literally a guy who rage baits about sports for a living. And then he proceeded to say, but the only reason I'm bringing this up is because it was a politically charged atmosphere. And it was
That is
true.
true.
Because obviously, if you don't live under a rock, you know that the tensions between Canada and USA are high right now with the tariffs and everything that Trump is imposing on us at the moment. This game was more than just a game of ice hockey. This game was more than just NHL players versus NHL players. This game was a nation versus a nation. Every person united under this flag for the first time in years.
Well, that's
Let's
my
be
issue.
honest. When was the last time
No,
you saw this
I think
kind
it's
of...
like I don't see that. If
How?
I'm being honest, I don't see like I didn't see that many people talking about Four Nations. Like I see hockey people talking about it, but like genuinely, I've been told the numbers. Like I've been told the numbers of like how influential it is, but most people I know, first off, have no idea what Four Nations is.
It's because you're friends with a bunch of bums.
Okay, everybody I know that knows hockey knows it. Even some people I know that know like sports don't know about Four Nations. Like people that know other sports. So like I think it's just because hockey is just a smaller sport compared to.
I'd say it's
like,
underrated for sure. And it's
it's
like...
smaller.
Yeah.
Like
no,
they,
that's
it's
true.
like
Yeah,
they just
true.
get paid. They just make less money because it's a smaller sport. That's just how
True.
it is.
Okay, regardless of that, regardless of it, I don't think you can really say that it was small when you have the president's secretary on live television say that the American team is going to beat Canada and turn us into the 51st state. Did you know that she said that?
Yeah, I know. I heard
Number
that.
one, she said that on live TV. By the way, disrespectful as hell and get stomped.
That's
Okay,
just part of sports, man. You can't like.
yeah,
Like,
whatever.
come
Okay,
on now.
whatever. Brutal mock. That's all I gotta say. But more importantly, before the game, the coach for Team USA walks into the locker room with President Trump on the phone, and he gave the U.S. team a pep talk before they went in.
Really didn't work. But
Okay.
okay.
But my point is, if it's enough for the president to get involved and for it to be on live TV in a sense, and more importantly, how many people talked about it online, I feel like you're not in the space enough to see what kind of an impact it
I
had.
feel like I'm more online than you are.
You're more online than me, but the social media aspect
But like
of where
obviously,
I'm looking.
if I'm in the sports industry, then obviously I'm gonna see people talking about it. But if you're not in the sports industry, like that's the thing is like you need to think about like everybody knows the Super Bowl when it happens, even if they're not a football fan, right? Or even if you're not a sports fan, people know when the Super Bowl happens. But a lot of people don't know about. Obviously, it's a new tournament. Like I don't expect everybody to know. I don't think like that's fair at all. It's the first time this tournament's ever happened. So to like try and compare it, it's like You know what I mean? It's just
Okay,
you're taking
whatever.
a smaller sport.
We're getting a bit sidetracked
Yeah,
here.
we
My
joke.
my whole point with that was, let's be honest, okay? All sports fans in general, or most sports fan in most.
Yep.
Any
day now.
I'm actually having a stroke right now.
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay. All right. Reset. Okay. Most sports fans who knew about this Four Nations Face Off watched that game. That's why you said the numbers were insane. Because people who typically don't watch hockey did watch that game. Number one.
Sure.
Okay. Number two, did you not see how many posts about the game came out right after we won? The entire internet was flooded with it. It was the number one search on Twitter. Period. Number one search. That game. So being number one on that platform as hockey, even though it is a smaller sport, is insane. So my point was that people were united more so now than in previous years. Let's be honest, people in Canada have not been patriotic recently, obviously because of the government. That's what I'm going to say. And the truth is, this was a saying that Eric said to me. He said, people don't hate their country, they hate their government. And that's one thing that's kind of stuck with me, because the truth is, regardless of what happens, man, I'm proud to be a Canadian. I'm very proud to live in this country, and I'm proud for what it's done in the past. Right? If you look at Canada through the history books, man, you can't deny that they've had some very pivotal things.
The reason that we see it that way is because we know a life outside of it. Like, we know what it's like in, Sri Lanka, where we come from. And to be able to have that introspection and be like, oh, there's places where it's so much worse.
So much worse, yeah.
And it's not even comparable.
Yeah.
Then how am I supposed to sit here and say, oh, I hate this place? Like, I've been given a chance to live here and be blessed here. So I think that people who, like, for example, when they, people are booing during, like, the national anthem and stuff
I didn't
like that. First off, absolutely not. In no case, even if you don't agree, first off, booing is crazy.
Yeah.
That's never okay. But I actually do have a question for you, because towards the end of, like, in grade 12 in high school, in some of my classes, people didn't have to stand for the national anthem, like, when it was sung.
What?
Because of, like, the whole Israel-Palestine conflict and how the government supported Israel.
That's stupid.
And I think that fair enough that you don't have to support the government, but, like, I think people put a little bit too much weight to some of their actions.
I agree.
Like, when I stand during the national anthem, it's because this country has provided a lot for my life. And if it wasn't for the country and even the government that's involved in it, I wouldn't have a good life. Because if it wasn't for that, I'd be in Sri Lanka right now.
Yeah.
And that's a terrible life that I wouldn't want to live. I've been blessed and given an opportunity to be here. And regardless of, like, the things that it does, it's had a positive impact on my life. So, like, to a degree, I'm kind of indebted to the country for that. So I sit here with that, like, introspection, believing that at the end of the day, I stand for the anthem, I don't stand for the anthem. It doesn't affect them at all. It doesn't give the government more power over me. It doesn't say that I believe everything that they believe. And at the end of the day, even if it does, who does it say it to? There's some random dude sitting next to me I'm not going to know in 10 years. I'm sure that they're going to hate me for the rest of their lives because I stood during the national anthem. At the end of the day, it was a small thing that it's like the country's kind of done a lot for me. That's why I do it. It's a respect thing. You don't have to always respect the government to be like, at the end of the day, this country has done something for me.
There are two different things, the government and the country.
Exactly.
The country is the people. The government is a completely separate entity.
Yeah.
Even though, yes, it runs the country in a sense.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the country is the people. You don't think about without the people, there is no country. So one thing that I have always said to people who, like, disrespect the country they live in is, if you hate it so much, why are you here? Leave.
Okay, I agree with the premise of it, except like obviously it's not, you can't just uproot
No,
your life,
but
you know what I'm saying?
my
But,
point
like,
my point is not about that. My point is, people want to stay in the same position and continue to complain about the privileged life that they've been given simply because they're ignorant to what other people have to go through. Let's
that's
be
a
honest.
good point. I think that, again, I think it's an overestimation of your impact. And this sounds very, like, nihilistic, like, oh, nothing you do matters. And that's not true. I think that people can band together to make meaningful impact. But to believe that, a small act of defiance is going to completely revolutionize the government, it's not like I don't think it's a fair way to look at things. Instead, like, have respect for your fellow man.
Yeah.
Right? You know, at the end of the day, it's not always about being like different and standing out and putting down. Okay, actually, this is where I finally found out. I was kind of just yammering there. I want to connect this. The one thing that I see is that people fight with other people over these issues. I can't stand that. If somebody believes something, sure, maybe let's suppose that I support the Canadian government and you don't. What's to say that we can't sit here and have a completely calm and peaceful conversation? Who's to say that? What's happened is that we've constructed this society where we're not meant to be cohesive, where we're not allowed to be together because we have built a system where we should be pitted against each other for some reason. We want to label everything so that we can ensure that if one of those labels doesn't match, you guys shouldn't be friends. What kind of a world is that, man? I don't want to be friends with people who are like me. That's boring.
Or I don't want to be friends with only
People who are like me.
Yeah.
I love the friendships I have with people with differing opinions because it's fun. Because I enjoy being able to converse. That's what's beautiful about humans is we're able to converse differing ideas. We're not animals that all fall into this category of, okay, we do one thing, you do one thing, let's stay separate. That's not how we work. That's not how our society functions. We function because we're interdependent and cohesive. So when you all want to say, let me put a label on myself and anybody that doesn't match it, stay the hell away from me, you're robbing yourself and everybody else of an opportunity to be human.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a box. You're not a label. You're not some survey checkoff number that's just a compiled list of labels together. That's not what you are. And if that is really how you would boil down your life, then you need to critically think about who you are.
I'm telling you, man, 99% of the people out there, if you spend a majority of your time arguing with people on the internet, you need to go touch some grass and do something, man.
Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Literally, what are we doing? Why are we sitting here taking all this energy that you have and putting it into something negative? Like, the amount of people who are Twitter keyboard warriors is just absurd. What are we doing, guys?
The real question is, like, do you even enjoy it? Like,
No,
to a degree,
you
I see,
can't.
you know, I understand. One of my friends, you guys will meet him someday. He's a professional rage baiter. And at times, man, it gets me mad. But he does it because it's funny to him. And at the end of the day, I find it kind of funny. But those people that sit online, you have no personal connection with this random person. And they're probably, you know, ripping their hair out over how annoying it is to argue with you. And I wonder, do you laugh at that firstly? Because if so, I think you got to reevaluate your morals.
Mm-hmm.
But the bigger issue is, like, what's it worth, man? What's it really worth? Are you really enjoying spending your time like that? And when you go, are you going to really look back and think, damn, man, I'm really proud of what I did?
Yes, I'm 1001 on my Twitter arguments. Yes, that's exactly why I'm going to be happy with my life. You absolute bumbling moron.
Like, the way I see it is that when we come out, you could say the same thing. Oh, why are you guys even putting out content? What the hell's the point? First off, I enjoy it and I love it. Every second I spend in the studio, I'm smiling. Mm-hmm. But more so, there's a chance that somebody will take it good and somebody will enjoy it.
Not just
right?
a chance. I've already seen people who
Exactly,
take it good.
right? So at the end of the day, it's having an impact. It's doing something right to put a smile on somebody's face out there. I think that, to me, that makes me fulfilled. Mm-hmm. So ask yourself, what makes you fulfilled? And start pursuing that. Because at the end of the day, if you just keep searching for meaningless existence, I think that you're going to end up very, very confused. Mm-hmm. Especially about where you have to be and what you want to do. Life is full of meaning. Mm-hmm. But it's up to you to actually understand it. Every interaction has meaning. But if you don't actively search for it, you're not going to understand it. Right? So every time that you interact with somebody, think about the fact that there's something there. There's some underlying key aspect of meaning. But you're not always going to get what it means. That's why we always say, you know, sometimes things happen and you don't know why. You don't get it. But it's because you weren't searching for it or you're not meant to understand it yet. So ask yourself every time you do something, what was really the point? What was the purpose? Why did I actually do this? Ask yourself that. And I think that it's really cool because you'll come up with answers that you never thought before.
Yeah.
Like, one example for me is scrolling, right? You know, it's a problem that we all go through nowadays, especially, you know, people in my generation. And some days when I'm done scrolling And I lock in for a second. I snap back to reality, as Eminem would say, and I throw my phone on my bed. And I'm like, what the hell did I just do? And then I sit there and I wonder, why did I just scroll? Like, genuinely, what was the point? It's not meaningless. It's not meaningless. Everybody thinks that scrolling and social media and video games is meaningless. That's not true. I don't think that anything in life is meaningless. It's only meaningless if you avoid giving purpose to an action. It doesn't mean that every meaning is good. It doesn't mean that every action is good, but it means that there's a underlying idea of meaning behind an action. So when I finished scrolling, I was like, damn, why the hell did I scroll? The truth is, I'm avoiding doing the hard things because I'm afraid. Because I'm afraid of putting in that effort. Because I feel like if I put in the work, I'm not going to get the result that I want because I'm not there yet. Maybe I'm not ready to put in the effort. I don't want to put in the effort yet. And it really had me thinking, why? Because I know that, for example, if I study more, I know that I'll get better grades and I'll be happier. So why can't I do it? Why can't I just do the thing that I know will make me better? Why can't I do that? And I wish I had the answer for you guys, but I don't even have that answer for myself. It's a question that I think everybody grapples with, is why can't I do the good thing that I want to do? And I don't know. I wish that I could be this wise sage here right now for you guys. Oh,
I have a theory.
All right. Propose your theory.
A postulate, if you will. Okay? Now, one thing that I have come to realize is if you make the rest of your life so boring, so unbelievably boring, like you do nothing, you will inevitably find enjoyment in doing the things you don't like doing or the things you know you should be doing. Let me give you an example. If you remove Netflix, YouTube, Brawl Stars, all this gaming, all this content you consume, if you remove these extras from your life, what do you have left? Most of you, in your day-to-day routine, you might go to school, you might go to work, but when you come home, what's going to happen if you stopped consuming? Your mind will begin to go numb and you're going to feel so bored and unsatisfied with your life. So what happens? You search for meaning and you start doing things. You start studying. You start working out. If the rest of your life is so boring that you have no choice but to go out and do something, you'll do it. And the funniest thing is, it was on an episode of Joe Rogan's podcast, because I've been listening to it a lot more recently. I've kind of set a challenge for myself for the next 30 days where anytime I'm driving, rather than listening to music, I try to consume some form of educational content. So I've been listening to a lot more podcasts, as one does. And in one of his episodes, I don't recall who he said it to, but they were having a conversation and they talked about how depression, anxiety, loneliness, and lack of purpose has really been crippling the entire world recently. And then he said the funniest thing is, if I was face to face with a depressed person, something I would say is, before you label yourself as depressed and everything, and you consider taking your own life or something like that, I want you just for the next 30 days to eat right, exercise regularly, and do something good for the mind, like reading. Most people would say, nah, I don't want to do that. You know why? Because you wouldn't be depressed after that. That's the thing. Once you do these little things, you wouldn't be depressed and you'd find meaning in life. So couple this idea that if you go do the little things, you won't feel depressed. So if you are depressed, yes, I'm not going to say that, you haven't gone through negative experiences, right? That's probably the case and why you feel like you should be depressed. But if you just go out there and do something good for yourself, man, you'll feel good. And I can tell you from experience, I'm not just some yapper who's saying this for no reason. A lot of you guys might sit here and listen to this episode and think, these guys are young, what do they know? Like, I shouldn't even listen to them. They have no idea what they're talking about. Man, I'll tell you, I know what I'm talking about because I have lived it. One thing that we talk about, obviously, is having a positive attitude and living a positive life. Why can we speak about that? Because before starting this podcast, both of us went through our phases of not being happy with our lives. Both of us went through phases of really hating every single day, whether it was going to work, going to school, living just at home. Everything sucked at one point, man. And then eventually we understood, hey, man, things are great, and flip things around. So that's why you should take what I say with, some credibility at least. But in terms of doing the hard thing and like exercising, for example, this morning I woke up at 6 o'clock to go for my run. But the thing is, it's pouring rain outside. Now I'm laying in bed trying to rationalize what I'm going to do. Now, the first thought in my head was, I don't want to get out of bed. But immediately I was like, no, we have to. We have to go run. And then I thought, okay, it's pouring rain. I don't want to go get soaked right before coming back and then having to shower and do all this extra stuff to go to school. So I'm going to run on the treadmill. I leapt out of bed. The second my feet hit the ground, I was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. We have to get out there in the rain and do something that sucks. But as I ran in the pouring rain and all these people are driving past me going to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, some people slowed down to look at me and they're like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? And when I mean pouring rain. There's a reason they call it Raincouver, man. It rains like crazy here, okay? And I'm running, and I pushed myself. I pushed myself to beat my record on time for running this 3K. And when I got back to the house, I remember taking my jacket off and pacing around the driveway, just letting the rain pour down on me. And I felt the greatest sense of bliss wash over me. Even though my lungs felt like they were going to collapse, I had the worst cramp ever. I just walked it off. And within a couple seconds of just feeling the joy of knowing I did that first thing in the morning, it was amazing. It was amazing. So go out there and do something difficult. If you don't challenge yourself, you're not going to get better, man. Like, that's one thing I was thinking about yesterday, funny enough, when I was getting out of the shower. I don't know why all these thoughts come to me when I'm in the shower, man.
Shower thoughts, man.
I don't even know. But as soon as I stepped out of the shower, one thing I thought about is if you don't train past what you're capable of, how do you expect to grow? If you stay within your known capability and you're not giving it 100% or not giving it more than 100%, how are you going to find more? If you're not failing, if you're not going beyond what you thought you could do before, how are you going to get better? You're not, man. You just got to go out there and do things you've never done before. You got to go out there and put more effort than you've ever done before. And in that, you'll find a lot of happiness. I'll tell you, I was smiling the whole time walking around in the rain there. It was awesome. Go out there and do something like that today, man.
I think that I wanted to tie back. One of the things that I was really grappling with is like, again, like you talked about like the depressed person, right? If you did like the workout and stuff and you actually dedicated yourself to improving yourself, you wouldn't feel like you're depressed anymore, right? You work on yourself, you'll be happier at the end. But then you said, the person chooses not to do it. Why is that? Why wouldn't you want to do something if you knew that you'd be happier in the end? And this actually ties me back, funny enough, you were talking about Joe Rogan earlier, of one of his episodes with Sean Strickland. He's talking to Sean Strickland, and I don't know if you guys know. I don't know about it too much, but Sean Strickland had like a really rough childhood, and I don't know much about it. But anyway, Joe gets real with him. He gets real with him, and he says, you fall back on this idea of I'm a piece of garbage, and you use it as some kind of a shield. And, Sean's agreeing. He's like, yeah, man. And then Joe's like, you don't have to do that. It's not as simple as you're a good human being or you're not. And I think that idea of I fall back on that negative connotation of myself and use it as a shield to basically justify the bad actions I take. Because I sit there and I say I'm a bad person, so that's what I would do. When I am not productive, I'm okay with it almost, because that day I align myself with the idea of I'm not a productive person. And I've known that my worst days, the days where I did nothing, I think the worst day is when you fail and you don't feel bad about it per se, but you don't feel good about it either. You just feel okay. I think it's good to feel good when you fail. I think sometimes when you fail and you're like, damn, I really learned a lot and I'm going to be better next time, that's beautiful feelings. That's part of life. And if you feel bad when you fail, it's also a form of I want to do better next time. But if you just feel nothing when you fail, it's like, what did I even do? Why didn't I feel anything? And the days that happened to me were the days when I looked around and I said, why does everybody else have what I want, but I don't have it? And I always looked around and I saw like, I see people getting way better grades than me. And I wonder, I'm like, I'm not stupid. And I swear I'm putting in the effort. So why isn't it the same for me? And then those days are the days where I put in no effort because I say to myself, I'm just not as good as them. So there's no point in doing anything. And I fall back on that idea of I'm just not as good. So I might as well not work. That's not fair. It's not fair for me to sit here and pull myself down to my own standards. That's scary, man. People always tell you don't fall to the standards other people set on you. But what about the ones you set on yourself? What labels have you put on yourself that you fall down to? Why don't you think you're a good person, man? Why don't you? Why don't you look in the mirror and smile about who you are every single day? Why do you sit here and call yourself a bad person? You think that a human character is that simple? That it can be defined by one word like that? That you're so simple that you could be described as good or bad on a daily whim? Is that really a fair way to describe the kind of person that you are? So everybody out there, you have negative connotations of yourself. Why? Because you did something wrong a day ago, a week ago, a month ago, a year ago? Who cares? We mess up, and we get to. One beautiful movie that I have referred to many times is Good Will Hunting. And I need you to watch this movie. It's on Prime Video, and we have Prime Video now, so you can watch that.
Do you need a subscription thingy to watch it?
No, it's free.
Are you sure?
It's yes. I'm gonna rewatch the movie very soon. It's a beautiful, beautiful movie, and I know a lot of people talk about it. Maybe it's been overhyped, but I think there are some very nice, intricate themes in the movie. But one quote from the movie, and I'm not even gonna explain the context because I don't want to spoil anything for you. One quote from the movie: "It's not your fault." That's all. That's the whole quote is. It's repeated many, many times. But for those of you who have watched the movie, you understand the gravity of that sentence. But I want you to go up to your mirror and genuinely look yourself in the eyes and say it's not your fault. And mean it. It's not your fault. Sometimes we're dealt a bad hand. Sometimes we mess up. But if you really think about it, was it you who messed up, or was it the you from the time that it happened? Are you defined by your past for the rest of your life? Can you really chain yourself to that identity and sit there and say, I am who I was yesterday because that's who I was yesterday. I am who I was 10 years ago because that's who I was 10 years ago. Or are you somebody who changes every day? Are you somebody who gives themselves the chance to become better? To take a step forward every day? Because at the end of the day, you're not always defined by your past. You don't have to let that be your failings. You don't need to be able to sit there and say, yesterday I was bad, so I guess today I am too. That's not fair. Sometimes you just had a bad day. Dude, that's a part of life.
Okay, I agree with not labeling yourself as a bad person simply because you have a bad day, or considering yourself a loser because you mess up once in a while. That's totally fine by me. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, because your self-talk is very important. Calling yourself a loser, saying that you suck and all this is not really good for your mentality or helping you achieve great success. And to those of you who are, I hate using this term, but it's just the best way to describe it, aligning with the alpha male mindset of I need to be better every single day. I suck. I'm not good enough. Even the people you look up to had nothing but confidence in themselves. People say all the time, I am the best, I am the best, I am the best, even though they aren't, right? Michael Jordan was saying that way before he was. Michael Phelps said it all the time before he was. Tiger Woods said it all the times before he was. Regardless, people always had that belief in themselves. So your self-talk is very important. I agree with that. But one thing is, obviously I haven't watched the movie, so I can't give a full, evaluation on the gravity of that quote. But for me, I don't like the term, it's not your fault, simply because some
people... it avoids accountability.
Exactly. Some people use it as a tool to distance themselves from taking accountability for their actions. The way I see it is, man, you are responsible for maybe not everything. At the end of the day, you can't control all factors in your life, all variables, things change. But take accountability for most things in
The
your life.
reason that the quote has gravity, and again, this doesn't even have to do with it. Obviously, the context in the movie reinforces it, but I think even my interpretation and my utilization of it is an extrapolation of how it's actually used in the movie.
Explain yourself.
So the way that I see it is, again, that I want to, like, this is kind of a new idea, or at least I don't hear many people, like, talking about it, but it's like actually physically splitting yourself from your past self and your present self. I think there are three parts to you. There's the past you, the present you, and the future you, right? Present you only exists in this moment. Present you is that's in this moment, who are you? And that changes, because think about it. Do you really react to every single situation the same way? Are you the same person to every single person that you meet? Tell me the honest answer.
No.
Right? Are there some days that you're really nice to me and some days you're really mean to me?
Yeah.
Right? Does that mean that you're overall a bad person or you're overall a good person? No, it means in that moment, you are a different person. Because at that moment, you chose to act in a specific way because of how you felt given that specific moment. Is that fair to assume?
Yes.
Right? Obviously, we have underlying values that stay consistent across these three versions of yourself. But I think that it goes back to that idea of Sean Strickland, where you fall back on the idea of I'm not good. And I don't think that's fair, man. I genuinely don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair for people to believe that they're just not good people. I think that I've lived by it for a long time, that I don't think that there are good or bad people. There are just people who make good or bad decisions. And it's hard because it's a very childish mindset. I think it's very childish. But I like the childish mindset because it allows me to first off see the best in myself and see the best in everybody else around me. Because I assume that when bad things happen, it's because they're having a bad mood. But when good things happen, it's because that's who they are. I think that people are good at their core. Maybe that's my hopeful side. But a lot of people, again, they're falling back on this idea of I'm not good enough, so that's how I'm going to live. And I just don't think that's fair, man. I don't think it's fair, especially the people who have been through such terrible lives and they sit there and they're like, I've been through terrible stuff. I guess I just don't deserve to be happy. Or I don't deserve greatness because in my past I wasn't great. It's easy for us. I think both of us came from very good places, right? We've been pretty successful since our childhoods. So it's very easy for me. Obviously, I've been through my own set of struggles. I'm not saying life was perfect, but the way I see it is that I see the things that people go through and I wonder, like, is it really fair for me to sit here and be, judge and jury and say, well, clearly, that guy didn't, he's not as good as me, so he's just not trying as hard. I'm happy, so why can't everybody else be happy? It's because of the way that they see themselves. I see myself happy because I've chose to live every single day of or at least I've chosen now to try and live every single day of my life in that way. But a lot of these people have sat here and hid behind this wall of I'm garbage, so I don't deserve happiness. And I want that to break, because what kind of a person doesn't deserve happiness?
Now, here's my thing, though. I wonder how many people actually live with that kind of a mindset where they just have such low self-esteem and faith in themselves and belief that that's the case.
Why do you think people die depressed, dude? Why do you think people never escape the constant 9 to 5 that they hate? Why do you think people don't do the things they love? It's because they can't. Because they can't make that decision for themselves because they're so bound by what has happened. Or at least they let themselves be bound by it.
I don't know.
I think that it's a handcuffed holding you that you hold the key to. You just have to have the courage to unlock it and walk away.
That's my thing, though. But then the other thing that I have to say is doing what's best for you is not always easy. Nobody said that working out is easy. Nobody said that running is easy. Nobody said that making the right choices when it comes to food is easy. So my thing is, how much of it is feeling inadequate and how much of it is laziness?
I think that they both stem from each other. Like, you sit here and I think, you talk about going for your run and stuff. You enjoy it.
Hell no, I don't enjoy it. What do you think this is?
Then why'd you sit there and smile on that driveway?
I don't enjoy running. I enjoy the feeling I have after I run.
You enjoy being productive, which is what you did.
I enjoy being better.
There you go. That's something that you enjoy.
So
At
you're-
its core,
okay.
you're choosing to do things you enjoy. Some people don't believe that they deserve that enjoyment. That's what I'm trying to get at, man.
I can kind of see your point, but it's very difficult to understand.
Have you never lived at a point in your life where you genuinely looked at yourself and you were so unhappy that you didn't believe that things could go good for you? Let me ask you that question. Have you ever felt like that in your life? Because if not, then that's why this conversation is a barrier.
I think I just relived my entire life in like
Mm.
10 seconds. I just reflected on everything. I'd say there were a couple times. Actually, it's really hard to say because I don't think I can characterize those moments as complete and utter hopelessness and just saying I don't think it can get better.
I don't mean in a total sense, because what I'm doing is I take the pain that I've had given my experiences, and I wonder that people who've had such more extreme situations, how it might have affected them. So for me, like, the one thing was I had been grappling with the idea of loneliness for a while when I was in, grade 8 and 9. You probably know actually about, like,
Yeah,
we've
that's
definitely
fair.
talked about this. And I don't even mean in a relationship sense. I mean, like, in a friend sense. Like, I felt deserted at times.
But mind you, just for reference, we still had the like same friend group.
Yeah,
we
same
have
friends.
now.
Like, this was a completely personal issue. And that's the point I was trying to get at. Is I sat there nights and nights without sleeping, wondering, like, I'm not even good enough for my friends. They don't even want me. I want to stay away from them because I feel like I'm not even worth it to them. So what did I do? I avoided them. I stopped talking to them. I became inactive. I even deleted my Instagram for a while, which is where we had our group chat, because I felt so bad about myself that I genuinely didn't think that I deserved to have that. Lo and behold, I was completely wrong, and I know that all my friends were there for me. But in that moment, man, that hopelessness of sitting there and thinking I'm not good enough and I don't have the capability to be better is scary. And you feel like I can't move. I can't do anything because I'm not meant for that. And the reason I brought it up is because I wanted people to be like liberated by it. Now, obviously, some random dude saying it on a podcast isn't going to save your life. And you have to genuinely do some real reflection as to why you feel that way. But that was the point I was trying to get at, is sometimes you find yourself in those moments where you're like, I don't get it. And I feel like I don't even want to get better. That's a scary place to be in that like state where it's like everything's wrong, but I don't even know if I want to fix it because I feel like this is just what I'm destined to be. That's what I fear.
Once you gave the explanation of your own experience, because I'll say, obviously, I was closest to you during that time in your life.
Yeah.
And I knew more so than others what you went through and what you were going through. When you explain it with your personal experience about how you felt it, it makes a lot more sense to me. But if you didn't say that, I wouldn't understand it because, being completely honest, I don't think that any time in my life I felt like that. I don't think I ever felt like that. And I would just call that privilege, to be honest. I'm just lucky that I never had to go through that kind of a devastation in my life. And that's something I think about a lot because when I look back on my childhood growing up, I was a winner. I won easily. Like, it sounds like I'm bragging, 100% it does, but I promise you I'm not. And when I look back on it, I don't think I tried as hard as some other people did. I think things came naturally to me more than others. For example, look at Taekwondo, right? One thing is I wasn't training outside of the dojo. I was just training on those days where I was in. And on top of that, I don't think that I gave it over 100%. Actually, maybe that's not true. I'd say Taekwondo pushed me to my limits, and I definitely did. I gave it my best shot there, but I was still adept enough that the second they taught something, I picked up on it immediately. Or public speaking. Yeah, the first couple times I did it, I wasn't great, but almost immediately after I got a knack for it. Like as I slowly, I'd say that's
No,
not a
I
good
was
example,
I was
but-
gonna say like genuinely, this sounds crazy. I can't remember a time in my life where I was bad at public speaking. Like think about one bad speech you've given.
Okay, when you put it like that, yeah, that's kind
Right?
of a
It's
good
like
point.
I think it's also we've done so many that you kind of forget
Yeah.
what your bad ones were. But like I genuinely don't remember the last time like I got up and I had like stage fright or something where I couldn't
But like the thing is, on one hand, I say that things came naturally to me, but then I also think about the fact that in elementary school, I was doing extracurriculars more than anybody else that I knew. Like every day I had something, whether it was swimming, taekwondo, Toastmasters, hockey, whatever it was, every day we had something. And some days we had more than one thing. Like we were always on the go. And I appreciate my parents so much for putting me through that and letting me find out what I'm capable of. But at the end of the day, even in those situations, I gained a lot more from those than most people. So I guess that when you say I went through this period where everything just sucked and I just couldn't bring myself to be better and I didn't think I deserved that, I couldn't relate to it. And that's why it's difficult to understand that feeling. But I'm sure that somebody who's listening to this right now resonated with what you said. I'm sure that somebody out there understood that, hey man, the message is you are deserving of happiness. You are deserving of love. You are deserving of all the good things that life has to offer. So don't give up, man. Just keep moving forward. And I'll add my piece to that. I'd say you're the heart there, and I'm gonna be the drive behind it. I'm gonna say what else you need to hear. Yes, you deserve all these things. Now go get it. Now go out there and make yourself better every day, because it's one thing to understand you deserve it. It's another thing to go and get it. You got to go earn it too. Nothing's going to fall into your lap. Your life isn't going to change in an instant. Your life didn't change simply because you understood I deserve friends or because you deserve to be happy. Your life changed because you made an effort, because you started hanging out with people, because you started to let go of this negative thought process. Thoughts are one thing, but action needs to be paired with it to make a drastic change, right? If you reflect on your life, I know that you are right now, and that's why you're not saying anything, because I see the look in your eye. I see the reflection right now, because I see you looking at those dark times and thinking, man, I've come so far, but I know how I felt back then. You only got out of it not just because of a shift in mindset, but also because of a shift in action. Now you're in the best shape, I'd say, you've ever been
Absolutely.
in, right? Mentally and physically. And that all came about because you did it. So to those of you out there who are listening, who are hopeless maybe even, and you just found this channel by chance, or maybe you're a subscriber, no matter who you are out there, man, the message that we're leaving with you today is you deserve everything that you want in this world. Go and work for it, earn it, and build the life that you want.
Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the very end of episode 61 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. But before you guys go, you guys already know what time it is. Time for quote
Of
the
week.
harem.
Quote of the week. Spend so much time improving yourself that you don't have the time to criticize others. Do you want to take a guess at who said this?
No clue. Give me a hint.
Yeah, you're not going to get it even with a hint.
Give me something. Is it gettable, like, at all? Like, do I
No.
know the person?
Yes, you'll probably know them, but I don't think you could get them no matter how
Give me
many hints
one
I give
hint.
them. I guess he's a rapper.
You guess he's a rapper?
Well, I
The
mean,
Weeknd.
he kind of sings too.
Someone who sings?
No, I'd say he's a rapper.
Kanye West.
I have one song by him in my library.
Okay. Tory Lanez.
You're not going to get it.
Come on, just give me another hint. Give me one more hint. One more hint. Come on.
Okay, this song will completely ruin everything you thought. The song is on my nostalgia radio hits, not my aux playlist.
Neo.
No.
Uh,
That was actually a good guess, though. That was a really good guess.
Is it like Sean Desmond?
No.
Come on. I can do this. Avicii.
Rapper?
Oh, good point. Good point. Pitbull?
Yo, you know what?
Usher?
Pitbull has some great lines that I should be
He
using.
does. We need some Pitbull quotes. Dude, guys, I
Dale.
gotta... What?
Dale.
What is that?
What? You don't know? That's Pitbull's signature line.
Never heard that.
What? Bro.
I have no
Y'all in the
idea.
comments know what I'm talking about. Drop a dale in the comments if you can. There's no
I have
way.
no clue what you're
Oh
talking
my
about, bro.
God. Okay, anyways, I'm just going to say it. It's Jay Sean.
Oh, wait, what song?
Down.
Down. Oh my God. Yeah. Damn, damn.
He was on a podcast episode with, I'm assuming you know who Jay Shetty is.
Heard the name.
He's like a very famous brown guy who like interviews people.
Oh yeah.
Self-improvement guy. But yeah, when he said that, it really resonated with me because growing up, I was also a guy who looked at all these other people around me and said, man, these people are out there doing all this stuff. And to be honest, to this day, I still look up to people and I still see people on the internet doing better than me. But I also spent a lot of time in my younger days criticizing others, thinking that I was superior simply because I didn't engage in a lot of bad activities that I saw people around me doing. But then I realized that criticizing them and saying all these things about other people is not getting me any closer to my goal. So what did I do? I stopped looking at other people. My entire social media page, like my personal page, is a ghost town. You can't see anything on my page about my life. Very, very few details about my life are on my page. And even then, those are privatized from most people. So I stopped looking at other people or giving my comments on other people and focused on myself and just got better. And I am the happiest I've ever been. And I guarantee you, if you guys start doing the same, you will feel the same way as well.
And with that, we officially come to the end of episode 61 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. Make sure that if you're Canadian, you're watching hockey. If you're anybody, actually, you should be watching hockey. But more importantly, you can become better. You deserve happiness, and things will go your way if you put in the effort to make them work. You are deserving, but that means that you got to work for it a little bit. Don't focus too much on other people, and don't hurt yourself too much. You're a great person, and you deserve great things. And make sure you live a positive life, y'all. Peace out.